70% chance of failure. That's just the way the markets work. Once the drugs get approved and out, there's 70% chance of failure. So do the math on that. $1 billion to spend it, only a 30% chance it's going to succeed. So what do? The pharmaceutical companies are throwing up their hands. Hey, you're handicapping us here. So what did the federal government do? They blocked the importation from other nations of pharmaceutical drugs. So the pharmaceutical company cut a deal with the government because the costs were getting too high, then blocked the importation of it, and who paid for all this? In the end, who paid? We paid.
Who wanted to block it?
I'm sorry?
Who wanted to block that?
Oh, the government. Well, the pharmaceutical companies wanted to block it,
yeah.
But that was the deal. The government would still drive up their costs and force them to go through the FBA, and in order to throw them a bone back, the government blocked the importation.
In this regard about pharmaceuticals, plan of Part D of Medicare, do you think it was a good idea for Congress to make it impossible for the government to negotiate prices with Big Pharma?
No.
That was trade-off.
No, it's not. No. These deals the government cuts, and they always handicap themselves, and it ends up handicapping the American people.
But you realize that was totally a Republican idea.
Oh,
it was totally.
Oh, I'm not standing up here championing that idea.
Yeah.
I'm not standing up here saying that this is a...
But you're opposed to it.
Right now, in this nation, Republicans and Democrats, they're not both the solution, they are both the problem. They are. I don't think for a second I'm standing up here telling you that only Republicans can lead us forward, and only Democrats have hurt us. It has been both parties in power several times throughout this nation that have brought us to where we are. Several times. That's Democrat presidents and Republican presidents, that's Democrat houses and Republican houses. Now, I am a Republican, and I am proud to be so, but I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that it's the Republican Party is perfect and the Democratic Party is corrupt. I would never say that, ever in a million years, because you're exactly right. This government has grown and grown and failed under Republicans and Democrats alike. And they will continue to do so until we take charge of our election process. We see the approval rate for Congress, it's 9%, I mean, just horrible. 9% of the people think Congress is doing a good job. What do you think the re-election rate is for Congress? Anyone want to guess? 97%. So only 9% of the people approve of the job they're doing, yet 97% of them are re-elected. So what's the problem? Is it the Congress, or is it us not caring enough to do something about it? You say you're upset with the government. You say you don't like the way things are going. Well, I think it's time we start saying, I mean, you people care enough to come out. This is preaching to the choir with you. I think it's time to start saying to people, you say you care, stop telling me how much you care and show me how much you care. Anyway. Anyone else? Sir? No, please, go ahead.
I'm glad it's here, but I was reading, I've been watching your TV ads, and you mentioned that we've got to control runaway spending. And of course, I don't know anyone who's in favor of runaway spending, but let's say, just theoretically, that there is. What should we stop? What programs specifically would you stop immediately if you were the president or the leader of the House or something?
Great question. Great question, and a couple things on that. Just because everybody says they're against runaway spending doesn't mean that they are. We've added $4 trillion to the debt in the last 3 years. You can't say you're against runaway spending and then spend twice as much as you take in. We're borrowing 40 cents of every dollar from China, and to use the line from Mitt Romney, we have to ask ourselves with everything, is it worth borrowing money from China to pay for what we're doing? And it's gotten to a point, it's not what we should cut, it's what we should fund. If we're not defending this nation, fulfilling our obligation to seniors, then we better be backing off, and that's the truth. Because we should stop pretending as if there's money. When you're $15 trillion in debt, you don't have money. We are a family that makes $50,000 a year. We're planning on spending $75,000 a year, and we're $500,000 in credit card debt. We don't have money as a family. There is no money. We have debt to shift around. So let's not, I think we're ready to talk about the fact that there's no money left. Now I believe we can bring in the money, but there's no money left. There's not.
Well, what specific programs would you like to cut?
Well, there's a $30 billion pay increase for federal employees, so now a federal employee makes 33% more than a private sector employee working in equal position. That needs to go away. If we were to reduce, you don't even, forget about cutting them away. If you were to reduce every single bureaucratic agency, the EPA and otherwise, by 1%, that's $50 billion across the board, by 1%. Those are not exactly draconian cuts, but they're steps already in the right direction.
You think we should?
Hold on one second, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am.
I just wanted to mention something I heard today, that student loans are currently higher than the American people have in credit card loans. What's your thoughts on that whole bill? And the idea that they're raising the student loan from 3% interest to 6% interest?
My thoughts on it are we're fortunate that interest rate isn't higher with the complete runaway industry that's become, and that we are a nation that lives on credit now in all forms, student loan and otherwise. Long gone are the concepts that many of you grew up with, that you pay as you go, and you pay for what you can afford. Now it's become just put it on the credit card and claim you have a right to it. And then when the bill comes, you turn around and say, someone should help me with this.
But education has increased.
Oh yeah,
Exponentially.
oh yeah. Ma'am?
Do you think the government should have done the same thing when they did not fund either of the wars or the Part D prescription drug program? They put it all on a credit card.
That's exactly right, they did.
You think that was right?
Well, what I said was, just a second ago, I said defending this nation is one thing. And by the way, when we're talking about the wars, I'm one that is actually, I've come completely, I've been supporter of Afghanistan. I believe we went in there for the right reasons. We were attacked. It was implemented and planned in that nation. We did the right thing. But if we're going to continue to do what we're doing and let the politicians fight the war so we can look good on CNN instead of let the generals fight the war so we can win and come home, it's costing our people their lives than bring them on home.
You think they should have been paid for with a special tax?
What should have been paid
Well,
for?
we weren't asked to give up anything for the war in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Oh, we've given up a lot, ma'am. That bill, that massive bill we have is going to be paid by us at some point in time, I
You
promise.
should have been asked to be taxed to pay for the two wars,
No.
rather than
No.
ask China for the money.
This is the
No.
first time that we haven't been taxed for a war.
Well, I'll tell you this, when we talk about taxes, let's talk about taxes for a moment. Currently, average American taxpayer pays more than 50% of their wealth to the federal government. When we talk about taxing the rich, or it should be the upper income people that should pay more in taxes, for one, the top 10% are already paying 70% of the tax bill. That's one. And for two, let's say I agree with you, and I don't, but let's say I agree with anybody who says that the rich should pay more. If you took every single dime every person made, who made $250,000 or more last year, you took every single dime they made, literally taxed them at 100%, they wouldn't even pay off the deficit. So let's not pretend as if we can tax our way out of this problem. We need a revenue increase. We need greater revenue, and the way to do that is with energy. You guys got to fund these things we have. You know what unemployment is right now in the United States? Real unemployment is 14%. Millions out of work. Those that have a job don't want them. It's bad. You know what unemployment is right now in the state of North Dakota? 3%. You know their biggest problem? They don't have enough houses for all the jobs they've created. They literally have a housing shortage in North Dakota. You want to know why? Energy. They're drilling, baby. And we've got it all in this nation. And it's more than oil, but oil as well. It is black gold. We are sitting on a mountain of money. You want to know how to bring in the money to pay for these things, to pay off this debt, we're sitting on top of it. And we're either going to choose to embrace it, or we're going to say, well, that's just for another time, and we'll go deeper into debt. But we can do it. It is the way forward. Ma'am?
Would you do away with any of the departments,
Oh, several. Yes, ma'am.
like the
Yes.
EPA?
Oh, yes.
and Education?
Well, let's talk about both those for a minute when we
Yeah.
talk about the EPA. The EPA currently is regulating your light bulbs and your windows and your toilets and your dishwashers and your refrigerators. Our limited federal